Hey, 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 we are live. Chris, you got me okay? Can you hear me?
I can, Kenny. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We got you. We got you. As we have some people popping on, we're just going to do some little technology testing here. We're on a couple minutes early. Make sure we get everything squared away. We appreciate those of you taking some time to spend an hour of your valuable asset called time with us here today. Chris and I completely get this, and we are going to be very respectful of your time. So, Chris, before we jump in here, as people are kind of hopping on and getting their technology figured out, those of you that are on, if you would just give us type in the question box if you'd give me a yes or a yes, you can see on my screen. Yes, you can hear both Chris and I. If you'd give us a yes or give us a little feedback there, that'd be awesome. And while we're kind of getting set up, we're going to talk about having your best quarter ever. But before we do dive into that, let's, Chris, let me have you kick us off. Tell me something good.
So obviously we're doing the same thing, right? We're working on some 2019 and working on best quarter ever on a personal level. I would say that life has been very fast paced, but yet relaxing. So I know that that's kind of weird. Waking up every day with this newfound energy, still knowing that I'm still running the race though.
Nice. Awesome. That's interesting, right? And that's something that we're going to talk about today as our members are jumping on. This is one of those 4 times a year we have the great opportunity. We do this every month with our Titanium coaching club, but 4 times a year we open it up to our central group as well. So we got a bunch of people on today that we want to really talk about this best quarter ever. And it looks like our technology is working well. So we're going to get rolling here in just a moment. And I would echo what Chris just said. And actually, I'm gonna open it up now. We got about a minute and a half before we go live. Somebody out there, it's good to see you, Kathy, Kelly, Mark, Ryan, Ty, Craig, Joe, Timmy. Okay, awesome. So somebody give me a positive focus. Somebody just type into the question box. Tell me something positive. I'm pretty sure Craig must have one, but I haven't had a chance to connect with you since. Ryan's got the Rockies, baby. That's right. I was thinking about you last night, actually, man. That's awesome. And Kelly's in studio actually today with us, and he was just talking about he won World Series tickets this year, so he's got the opportunity to go to the big show. So we were just talking about him, like maybe those Rockies will be there. Ryan's on board. I love it. Awesome. Good to see you. Howie's hopping on now. So as everybody's jumping on here, we're gonna jump in here in just a moment. But I want you to, as Chris and I kind of get rocking, I want you to think about how to have your best quarter ever. Now, positioning wise, Chris, I think we need to define this, because I think that a lot of people can jump in. And actually, before we define it, do me this. Everybody on the line representing with either a 1, a 2, or a 3. So far in 2018, which quarter has been your best quarter yet? Just type a 1, a 2, or a 3. Which quarter has been your best quarter so far in 2018? Just type them in for me if you would. Awesome. We got a bunch of them.
Be curious how many people put quarter number 2, which could potentially have that shoulder season coming out for some people. I'd be curious how many people actually had quarter 2 to be the best season.
Well, and here we go. 1, 1, 1, 3, 3, 3. There's 1, 2. There's 2 2s.
Sweet.
Out of 20, 30. I mean, yeah, there's not very many 2s at all. So primary 1s and primary 3s. Why? Obviously, a lot of that is going to be weather driven, just like you said. Now, I also wonder what the question would be of how many of you, just type me a 4 if you anticipate your fourth quarter being your best yet. Just to go ahead and type that in. If you expect, if you plan to have your best quarter this year, maybe not ever, but this year, go ahead and type in a 4 for me there. Awesome. I just want to see where we're at. Okay. Yep. And see, and that's the thing. Most of you are planning to have your best quarter coming. Now, Chris, you and I, in preparation for this, we were talking about defining your best quarter ever. And a lot of you, now that you've defined it and told us, I just want you to frame that. And I want you to think about, when you think best quarter ever, what comes to your mind, Chris? As an operator, you built one of the best businesses in this country, short period of time, best quarter ever. What comes to your mind as an entrepreneur?
I think what happened in that quarter that made the business better. That's what I go to. Is the business better? What did we do? And a lot of times we judge it based on best quarter ever, based on the income statement, the profitability, because that's our measuring stick. But I'd ask people to think a little bigger than that. Is your business better off for 2019 because of a better quarter that you've ever had? Right? Positioning yourself for the following quarter or the following year. And sometimes when we get our weaknesses exposed and we react to them, it makes our business way better.
So, interesting framework, ladies and gentlemen, as we get rolling here today. The point is how to have your best quarter ever. Now, some of you may have that now. It may happen this quarter. The point is, it's doing the things to position to have your best quarter ever. Some of you had your best one first quarter this year. Guess what? That's right around the corner. You'll be in first quarter 19. So today, we want to open your mind. Today, we want to challenge you a little bit, and we want to remind you of some things that you need to implement, that you want to stay on top of in order to rock and roll moving forward. Let's do this, ladies and gentlemen. So first I want to talk about blockers to your success. And Chris, you and I have had a lot of conversations around this. I get a lot of coaching. You get a lot of coaching. We talk about these things. But when you look at feeling of certainty, and I taught this a little bit this week when I did that Titanium Plus just bonus session last week. And I just want you to think about, as you head into another quarter, what might be blocking your success. And when you have a certain feeling, many of you, we've talked about the mindset in the service industries. I don't care what your trades are. I don't care if you're in garage doors or only AC. Some of you believe that you cannot be profitable every month. Would you say that's fair with all the clients that you work with, Chris?
Yeah, I would say that is definitely, and it's different for every client as to they know what their season is, where they kind of almost predict that they're not going to make money.
That's right. And so then the difference is, now, are there models that work that way? Certainly, but I want to challenge you for your own model as you think about how the game changed moving forward. So when you think about types of beliefs, we've got this global thing, and I see this a lot. You see this a lot when we're doing on-sites, when we're on with clients. You coached a long time before you came on our team, and then you built your business. That's, I am this. You are that. Life is. So that's where you and I Chris and I were on site last week at a Titanium client, and then we did a leadership gig together. And I'll never forget this, because we were co-training one of the first sessions together live, and one of the technicians, he said, and he used the word Justa. And I freak out, those of you that know me, when technicians say, oh, I'm just a plumber, I'm just a AC guy, I'm just a contractor. I lose my marbles. And Chris did the same, because that's a limiting global belief. And if you have that, you cannot have your best quarter ever, see? Then there's association beliefs. Well, if I do this, I'm going to get burned. If I make more money, I'm not going to be happy. If I get more personal, whatever, there's associations that hold you back based on, see, the kind of boundaries that you build around beliefs completely are affecting your business. And we're going to talk about strategies on the business in a moment, but we have to start with you as the leaders. This is where it comes from. So when you hear yourself, I just want to reflect back to you. I do or I don't. I can't. I must or mustn't. I am or not. Others are or will. Now, Chris, think about this and recruiting right now. Because what's laughable to me, to some of you on the line, and especially if you're on with us today as an Essential member or not a Titanium yet, you think about how you think about the market. You think about how to, what do you see this show up with when you have clients telling you there's no good help out there, Chris? You got to hear these things, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so think about this though, Kenny. I mean, today it's recruiting, and everything in this business is supply and demand, whether it's supply and demand on customers or supply and demand on workforce. 08, 09 across the country, people were screaming, they don't have enough calls, nobody's buying, nobody's repairing anything, everybody's holding on to their money, and they had an influx of workers. And then now all of a sudden we're saying we got so much work, we don't have enough workforce. And listen, business is always going to have its challenges, but the difference is that the market will always shift. Your goals never should shift, only your strategy.
Let that lie, ladies and gentlemen. The market's always going to shift. Think about it. I mean, my father-in-law is big into trading stocks and doing different stuff and all those types of things. And what's funny is you might trade your stocks throughout the year and know there's going to be seasons and know you're going to have dips. And what do you say? Oh, dollar cost averaging, buy when it's down. And yet when we have pullbacks and we go through different cycles in our own service businesses, we don't seem to see it the same, and we don't double down the same. And when we talk about your best quarter ever, see, Chris and I both agree that businesses are ruined during the busy times, but they don't show up in failure until it slows down. Sure. So Chris, mention the harvest thing that you were talking about earlier, and then we'll move forward here.
Yeah, it goes back to this. I think that during good times we're planting seeds, whether seeds for the future or seeds for the right now, and what kind of seeds you're planting shows up in system efficiencies, because what tough times do is waters those seeds, right? So if you've been doing all the right things during the good times, planting good seeds to build a sustain your future, when you water them in the tough times, you're only going to flourish. I think about the companies that flourished during the Great Depression. They flourished. Why? Because they had positioned themselves correctly. The challenge is, I think the old saying is that the tide rises all boats. I just say everybody can swim in ankle deep water.
Dig it. Dig it, dig it. Challenge those beliefs. When you think about, I can't trust people, they'll betray me. Can't pursue dreams because I might fail. So, it's too late. I shot a Facebook Live. If you follow me on Facebook, watch that video I shot yesterday. I got a great response because I'm told I'm supposed to be getting old now. I just had another birthday. Oh my gosh, it's too late. I'm just getting started, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you are too. But when you realize, if I'm going to have my best quarter, am I making excuses? To Chris's point, there's going to be seasonality. There's going to be changes. There's going to be supply and demand. It is what it is. But if you're complaining about things, if you're indulging in negative thoughts or unhelpful habits, when you talk to yourself in limiting and unhelpful ways, when you jump to conclusions and make assumptions. Now, I'm hitting you hard because we've got to interrupt a pattern that's going on that got you the results to this point today. Now, as we move forward, we challenge those. And also, it's all, they say Alcoholics Anonymous, I think it's one of the greatest models on the planet for behavior change. And they say all progress begins with telling the truth. And when you hesitate to express fear, when you worry about failure or making mistakes uncontrollably for no apparent reason, procrastinating or perfectionism. Chris, you ever seen a perfect service business?
Never. You know what the challenge of that is, Kenny? You say that, and as we're sitting here talking, that resonates with me. Depending on personality type, we often want to perfect things before we go for it, right? I think as long as you know what the end goal is and you've got enough to get it going, oftentimes that's a limiting belief, to believe that you have to have all the details before you can get started.
Fascinating truth. In fact, those of you that have been at Titanium a while, and I probably haven't taught this since you joined our team, Chris. If you're Titanium, I want to remind you of the 80% approach. My coach Dan Sullivan taught me this approach, and he actually wrote a book called The 80% Approach, because here's the reality. Those of you on this line, the people that showed up to get this dose of prescription today, the shot in the arm, your 80%, ladies and gentlemen, smashes most people's 100. Yeah. Now, the difference is that 20% between 80 and 100 is where perfectionism comes in. That's where the dreams stop. That's where the implementation stops, because it's not ready yet, and it'll never be ready. So that's why you say you've never seen a perfect service business. You grew one of the fastest growing companies in the country while people were saying there's no techs available, there's no good help, you can't scale multiple locations with a single trade, all those different things. You and your partner said, watch this, ladies and gentlemen. What about you at home? What about you at your office? What are you doing? See, here's the deal. Think about raising your standards rather than perfectionism. That's what matters. What you put into the universe is based on your standard, and the market will react. You want to look for being outstanding versus perfect, my friends. That's how you move to have your best quarters ever. So here's the deal. You can change in an instant. Tony Robbins taught me this years and years ago, but here's the thing. It takes us a long time to get to that moment to be ready to change. Many of you need to make some big changes in your businesses right now. And I want you to think to this point, as a matter of fact, that right now, with a 1 for a yes or a 2 for a no, have you made what you would consider big changes in your business this year? Nobody will see your answers but myself and Chris and Rebecca. So type in a 1 or a 2. 1, yes, you have made some major changes. 2, no, you really haven't made major changes this year. Yes, yes, yes. We got some typing in. Yes. Not major changes. Okay. A couple of you I see, I would disagree with your answers now that I see these. Right on, right on. Okay. So here's the deal. By and large, most of you are telling me today that you have made some major changes. Now the question becomes, were you clear about it or were you surprised? Did you lead the change or did the change come and take place to you?
Wow.
See, when you think about it's got to change now, that draws the line in the sand. Now you take empowerment and you say, I must change it. Now it's not just laying on its own. Now you're taking control, and then you get your courage and belief in self, and I can change it now. I don't care what the state of your business is right now. You can sell yourself out of just about any problem you have right now. Would you agree with that, Chris?
100%. We hear Kelly tell the story all the time. He's with his issues that he had in some of the business things. I'm just like it excites me to know that there are people out there that understand the philosophy of don't give up, don't quit. When your back's against the wall, usually is when the victory's right around the corner, and most people give up too early.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? So here's what I want you to do at home. Identify a limiting belief that you have, something holding you back. And then we're going to get into, as leaders, how we're going to lead these things moving forward. But I just want you to think to yourself right now. Now, here's a question most people don't ask you. How has this been serving me? See, what we forget is limiting beliefs actually serve us on a certain level, or we wouldn't do them. The alcoholic takes a drink and it serves them on a certain level. Though it may be unconscious, this is taking place. Destructive relationships have a serving component to them. If you're avoiding conflict, if you're avoiding team member communication, if you're not taking decisions on by the head and being decisive, how have these things been serving you? Now, what would be the benefit if you replaced it? And you want, like, what if you just decide that you're going to create the business that you truly desire? That you're going to create the team that supports your vision of what you truly want to do. Because here's the deal. Once you realize that belief has served you, now you've got to look at what has it been costing me, or how has it been holding me back. Ladies and gentlemen, I had the ability to launch the Blue Collar Success Group for a full 10 years prior to me launching. But I had limiting beliefs about it. And then I had a life event happen, and I met somebody, the lovely Christy, and it gave me confidence. She didn't give me confidence, but the environment, the love, whatever changed gave me confidence, and I launched Blue Collar. I want you to think about you. I want you to think about your support team in your office, at home, peers. What's it look like? And then let's talk about this, Chris. Is it too late? Here's the deal, my friends. We got 89 days left. What's your comfort zone? How tied are you to purpose? We got Kelly Scholes in studio today, and he's in a great position of graduating to another level in his life, and elevating purpose has now become a big part of this, right? But here's the thing, my friends, as a leader on the line, regardless of where you are in your business right now, you've got to be proud of now, because now is where you go to the next level from. Does that make sense, Chris?
Absolutely. And the cool part is, Kenny, the past doesn't have to define where we're going. It only defines where we're at right now. The past put us in the position we're in today. But the cool part is you change your mindset, you change your trajectory.
That's it, right? And that's what we talk about. You remember, you like what you just said about strategy. Think about that. Kelly's going to hop on an airplane this afternoon and fly back to Seattle. And then it's going to get sunny and nice here, man. But it's been raining the whole time he's been here. But he's going to fly back home. And that airplane's barely going to be on track. Barely on track at all. But he's going to land at SeaTech later this afternoon. And the same is true of your goals. You're going to be off track. You're going to tweak and change in different things, but you've got to elevate your purpose. You got to get proud of now. And here's the thing. The clock is running. Like it or not, as fast as you want to go, slow as you want to go, doesn't matter. This is how much time you have left this year. Let's talk about these components. And we'll think about, where do you need the most attention? Finance, management, delivery, sales, marketing, brand, or why we're all here today? Possibly leadership. Chris, would you say that what you and your partners accomplished in such a short period of time, wouldn't any of the competition in your markets have the same ability to do what you did?
I'd say, Kenny, and this is no knock, and full disclosure, there are people that have way more education in the market than me and my partner. In fact, me and my partner, neither one of us graduated high school. So, if we were to sit around and talk about excuses and why other people are winning when we're not, you could. And the deal is, there are people from a positioning standpoint, from a cash standpoint, had way more cash than we had. People they had been around longer than us. I mean, I could think of every reason in the world, Kenny, of why I could have made an excuse of why we couldn't do what we did. But the facts are, when you're very clear on when you're extremely purposeful and streamlined in what you want, you'll get it right with as few people and as few steps as possible. And that's what we did.
So I want you to think about that, ladies and gentlemen. When you think about limiting beliefs, Chris just came clean on something I didn't expect him to say, but how about that for transparency of blue collar? What other limiting? You think there could have been a time that could have been a limiting belief for Chris? And I can only imagine that it may have been at some points in his life. I don't even have a high school education. How can I build a multi-million-dollar empire? Guess what? He did it. What about you? What about you want to do? I love when MLK said this: can't fly and run. Can't run and walk. You can't walk and crawl. By all means, keep moving. One of my friends and doing a little coaching with me, my buddy Sean Stevenson's never walked a day in his life. And he's done more in this world than a lot of people ever will do. Let's talk about 5 ways for you to smash it. Yes, I'm going to start here. Focus on your unique ability. I want you to think about evaluating where your current unique ability tasks are. And Titanium, we're going to do an exercise to really quadrant this out to help you if you need deeper help. But I really want you to understand where you're investing your time, because your time is currency. And so we really got to look at these types of things. And of course, where is this showing up? Where is it becoming challenging for you to let go of certain things or different types of things? And when you get really clear, because your team really understand. Kelly was in the office yesterday, and those of you who don't know, Kelly's one of our long-term of Titanium family member, been around since the very first. You were in the first round, right? So he's seen all the changes over the years that continue to happen, and as we just learn and move and grow forward. And so here's what's interesting, though. We're in here yesterday, and he was taking a type of a communication, almost like a personality profile type of a tool. And we're sitting here in the conference room together, and he's like, where is the thing that just says, can't I delegate everything? And so what's fascinating, and Brad's on the line probably going, oh God, there it is, right? But what's fascinating is Kelly knows that literally part of his unique ability is now delegation. And he set the business up with team and shared vision to make that happen. So as we head into the fourth quarter, Chris, when you're on site, when you see different things, I mean, we were just, Appleton Campbell's one of our great titanium clients, and we were just there, and that business runs different than most, to say the least. But it's very centered around unique ability, wouldn't you say?
1,000%. I've never met such unique ability people. And the cool part is they know what their unique ability is, and that's what they do. And that's when businesses really flourish.
That's when businesses, that's when teams, that's when lives, that's when relationships, that's when finance, that's when all that begins to flourish. That's what I'm talking about right there. So get it clear. Who are you? What are you doing? What are you really, really good at? Now we address goals, but not how you might think. So let's talk about time. How are you blocking? What are your goals? Are you getting sucked into email, those time suckers? If you're titanium, go back and watch some of our time. We just did a webinar a few months back, Control Your Time, Control Your Destiny, I believe was the name of it. And you've got to get that time back if you want to have your best quarter ever. Otherwise, people will take it. Projects will take it and be productive with it, control it. But I want you to think about what has caused your current results to this point. So when depending on how well of a planner you are, how well you set goals, I want you to think about that, because Chris, a lot of people typed in a 1 that they've made some major changes this year in their business. Now, we didn't ask them how many of them plan to make another major change in the fourth quarter, but isn't it valuable to kind of look back, not to see hang out in the past, but what got us here? Quick check-in.
Yeah, for sure.
How about this? Man, we had a great plan, and then I know several clients have trucks sitting in the yard right now, hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue just sitting in the yard, because they haven't decided yet to solve the hiring challenge. Now, many of them may say that's BS, Kenny. It's not. I'm doing everything I can. But the point is, the algorithm hasn't been solved yet. So if I have baggage, the thing is, Chris, is what we see a lot is I'm down 2 techs. I'm into the fourth quarter. Now I'm going to miss my goal in the fourth quarter rather than, so I'm carrying that baggage forward rather than going, no, I'm going to be completely staffed by November 1 or whatever that looks like. Don't you see that show up when you're on site?
Yep, absolutely. But here's the challenge though, Kenny. A lot of people say what they're going to do, and then all of a sudden that person living in their head starts telling them all the reasons why it was that way already. And then all of a sudden, all of your best laid plans and goals begin to go out the window. Why? Because those LBs start to show up again. And the reality is you got to get them out of your head. And on the previous slide, you talked about figuring out who you are. A lot of people can't figure out who they are because they can't figure out who they're not. And so I always encourage people, if you want to know who you are, figure out who you're not first.
Definitely. And I think that ties to your company as well, right? Because sometimes, I remember, I started in the service world as a drain cleaner, and then we moved into septic and grease pumping, and then we, did all this thing, and then at one point we went, wow, margins don't make sense. We're not doing a lot of grease trap jetting anymore, this and that, and so we have sold off the septic part of our business. We said, this is no longer who we are. It's not unique ability. It's not profitable. It doesn't drive future agreement clients, whatever that looks like, right? So right now, look at what you've got, 89 days left. What do you need to do to update in your mind, in your plan, simple, clear, what does that look like? So you've got this tool in your membership. I don't care if you use our tool or not. Let's be clear. I care that you do the work. I care that you make some decisions about what's going to happen in the next 89 days. Tools are there, but I walked by my gym today on the way to the car too. So I didn't use any of those tools today, did I? What about you? Because here's the
That
deal.
time, Kenny, that time blocker is a big thing, and it's a success trap because we all say that we have time blocked. The challenge is the calendar is not going to manage you unless you submit yourself to that block of time. And I've talked to business owners who have their calendar blocked. They just don't do it. So don't get stuck in that success trap.
So true story. I'm getting pointed fingers and not flipped off, but they want to probably. But so I have a personal. I'll come clean. I have a personal calendar challenge, and I've shared this with Titanium in the past. But I feel like if my calendar runs me, then I'm not free. And one of my biggest core values is freedom. And so I have had to do a lot of work and continue to do work about what you just said is a powerful word, submitting to that time, submitting to that calendar so I can be even more effective and more dialed with our clients, with our programs, with what we're doing. Because here's the deal. We use this slide on purpose because most of you focus on that change, that money right in the front, and the time gets really, really fuzzy. But here's what I want you to realize. The slide kind of says it's time for change too, if you look at it that way. But if you would bring that clock a little more clear and a little less focus on the end result of that money, things would come a little bit quicker. And here's how you do it. It's about running your own race. And I love that Chris just said that out loud a minute ago. He said that roommate living in your head, you got to kill that roommate living in your head, my friends. That roommate came from your parents, your peers, your previous experience, the different things in your life, and generally doesn't serve you at the highest level anymore. That's the roommate that told me, you can't run more than 3 trucks in Grand Junction. That roommate told me, you came from a small town in Colorado. You'll never be on the national stage, right? What's that look like to you? How are you leading your people if you've got somebody that's smashing around your vision and your value and who you are up in your head? My buddy Joe Polish used that, and I just love it. Kill the roommate living in your head. And your own lane company and life success, my friends. And this is where it's all about. And Chris and I agree with this a lot. Here's the deal. Chris and his partner was able to build what they built so fast because you knew exactly who you were and what you wanted to do. Would you agree with that, Chris?
1000%. Knew what my unique ability was and operated in that.
Say that again. I totally interrupted you. My bad. Go again.
I just knew what my unique ability was and I operated inside of that.
Did you know that already? I mean, I was beating the unique ability drum when we met each other, but did you consciously know you were doing that, or it just made sense to you? It felt right? Share that with people. How did you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's a gut, and it becomes more and more clear. And this is what really happened to me, right? We get stuck in a success trap that we believe if we tell the world that this is who we are and what we do, we believe that if we change our mind, that all of a sudden the world thinks we're unstable and we're not legit and we're not this and we're not that. And there's times and seasons for everybody of who they are and what they are. And at that time, in building and developing that company, I was no more passionate about that than anything else in growing that business. But that season changed, right? I fulfilled what I felt was my purpose and my unique ability from a scaling of the company. And it's probably no surprise, but my passion and what I'm really, really good at is sales and marketing. And it's a component of growing a business. And then from there, operations, right? And then from there, finance, where my partner was more of the aggressive entrepreneur, let's take over the world stuff. And I was constantly looking at other opportunities versus the ones that he was looking at. And together it was a marriage made, perfection at that time. It was my unique ability. Somebody asked me the question, Chris, if you were so good, and this is funny, right? And this is how the world will treat you. Because at one point it was about, Chris, what business have you ever grown and did? And at that time I had never did in a previous life in consulting. Once I went and did, then people now want to question, why did you leave? And so to understand as an operator, Your team and everybody around you is always going to put you to question. You just got to get a resolve that you know who you are and what you're about, and you don't have to worry about that. This world that we live in, you can change, and you can change your mind. That's the beautiful thing as an entrepreneur. I changed my mind. I no longer want to own and operate. It's not fun for me anymore. Doing what I do today is fun. That's what I do.
And that's the power, and that's where we really want you to zero in as you look at the rest of 18 and as we springboard into 19, because I'll say this too, that there's power. What I see too often, and the dang franchise model kind of pushed it. I saw it happen to clients that were opening multiple stores when they should have been just running all of their energy into one store and really one trade. But what happens is we jump in, I'm doing $1.5 million in one trade. Let me go add this and add that, and that's going to solve it. And we know, you and I both know hundreds of clients like this around the country. But one of the things I want everybody to remember is you guys you were handcuffed by some franchise stuff or whatever, as far as just running into other trades or jumping into other, like, so you were like almost handcuffed in your lane. I remember my market share that I was able to accomplish in Grand Junction is some of the best ever created in the U.S. simply because I didn't have anywhere to go. I had to go deeper in my own space. And I think that's a gift that everybody on the line needs to remember. You got to realize, get your own lane. Think back. I never became a licensed plumber, and yet I owned a plumbing company for 24 years. And when the water heater broke, techs were like, hey, we need you to help me. I said, I can't help you because I'm not a plumber. I'm a business owner. I know my lane. You know yours. Let's figure this out together. That's how you create rock stars. That's how you create success. And then you got to stay in it. One of the things Kelly and I were talking about last night is he's got to stay in that lane as this company goes to the next level. And I can't talk to you about your own race without reminding you about that gap. We can fall into the gap multiple times a day. It doesn't matter how many times you go in, as long as you just get back out. And we create the gap, because right now, I'm telling you, there's a gap between now and where you want to be, what you want to have accomplished by the end of this year. That creates a gap that can turn into misery, pain, whatever you want it to, or excitement and passion.
And Kenny, for the audience that is once a quarter you meet, and there's going to be new people today that weren't here last quarter because obviously new memberships. Can you do me a favor and just explain from your perspective what you mean by the gap?
Absolutely. And as a reminder for those of you that do know, and if it's new to you, just the fact, the easiest way for me to remind you is really, if you're on a boat on the ocean and you're heading out to sea and you can't see land anywhere, and you're driving out in the boat and you just see the horizon. All you see is water out at the horizon. And as you're driving the boat, you're getting closer and closer, but that horizon continues to extend on you. And the interesting thing, and where I remind people, is I want you to think about this in your office. When you're on that boat going in that direction, it doesn't piss you off that you can't get to the horizon. It just doesn't. It just is what it is. Unconsciously, you just go, okay, cool. The horizon just keeps on extending. However, when we bring this back to life, when we bring this back to humanity with us, now we start going, dang it, I'm not where I want to be. Every time, as a driven entrepreneur or a thought leader on this call today, you will create gaps every single day because you want to create progress. That's amazing. That's why we've got to celebrate wins. That's why we've got to acknowledge where we are. That's why we kill the roommate. That's why we stay in our lane. So now we're staying out of the gap as much as possible, because you never win when you're operating from the gap. That's what it's all about. Here's the deal. Running my own race, staying in my own lane, and focus. These are ways that you have your best quarter ever. Now, let's check in on planning real quick here. Start with what's important to you. Obviously, we have all kinds of tools. I'm a huge start, stop, continue fan. Chris and I did that exercise twice last week on the East Coast. I recommend it every quarter. I think it's a massive tool for you to use. It's all right there. We've got a great webinar all done for you, ready to go. But what's really going to move the needle the most is you come in. One of the things that I liked about creating a self-managing business was I was basically the #1 consultant to my organization because I saw it a little bit differently. So what is really truly important to you and your business? And then remember, it's an art, not a science. So you just heard Chris came clean. Him and his partner didn't have high school educations, and yet they built one of the most model businesses ever created in the United States. And I think that it's why, because we don't have to know all these different things. What we need to know is what we need to know. That's the key. I think my buddy Joe Calloway wrote a book called Be the Best at What Matters Most. Think about that in your company. Recognize the things that are hard for you and how you avoid them. Think about that. I just shared one with you. I avoid calendar control. I used to avoid calendar control, right, ladies? I'm in the process of that changing. And so, so what does that mean? I avoid, I find a reason, right? I'm an entrepreneur. I'm driven. I'll find a way to justify my behavior, if you will, whatever that may look like, right? How about connecting goals to projects and projects to tasks? How about that? So when you think about your own planning, give me a 1 or 2 if you have a written 1, yes you do, 2, no you don't. Just be honest. We're not grading anything. I just want to understand if you're following a current written kind of a plan, or 2, no. And it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's in a workbook, if it's in a journal, but you have some sort of a structured kind of plan, budget, whatever. Give me a 1 or a 2. Yeah, 1, yes you do. 2, not so much. And let's see what we got here. Okay, good. We're seeing a bunch of titaniums. Yep. Cool. Working on it, though. Working on it. Little bow. You got to love our membership. Richard throws out a 1.54. I love it, brother. So that's, that's the thing. And here's the deal. It doesn't matter. Either one doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is it's the line in the sand. When you go put the coordinates or the address into your navigation system, it just starts moving you forward. That's the same that's true with your planning process. And also, I don't care about platform. So here's the thing. I mean, I know some incredibly productive, smart, wealthy, well-adjusted people that run their lives out of a journal, run it out of a notebook, run it out. So I don't care about platform. What I care about is process getting done. And here's the thing, my friends. We get so caught up and life's so challenging. And I love what Chris just said earlier about, go back to 08, 09. I owned for almost 24 years. And that was a lot of seasons, a lot of cycles, different economies, different things. And there's always change in different things. So how about we find a way to just enjoy it during the process? If that's the case, I remember I got the opportunity to see John Paul DeJoria speak at a Genius Network event a couple of years ago. And I've mentioned this to some of you, but he's the guy that created Paul Mitchell. He started selling hair care products out of the back of his car in Brooklyn in the 80s. Just unbelievable. He had his daughter living in the car with him. Crazy story. Then I knew him a little more once he launched a company called Patron. So he's also the founder of Patron. That's where I know. But the point is, he said this, and I want you to think about this as we position and join the fourth quarter. In the end, everything's going to be okay. If it's not okay, it's not the end. And that's how Kelly Schulz gets through the things that he got through in order to continue to build the company and the team that he's building. And you got to start looking this. My buddy and friend Marcus Straub, previous coach of mine, we did Unleash Your Greatest Life Now. It's in your membership. That 21-day improvement series. Kelly's been through it multiple days. He still has the CD program, don't you? So, but Marcus wrote a book called "Is It Fun Being You?" And that's a question I think we need to ask each other and contractors. Is it fun being you? Do you enjoy this business? Do you like what you're doing? Do you like your team? Do you like your wife? Do you like your kids? I mean, what's up? That's what it's all about. Immediate benefits are a strong predictor of persistence, and delayed benefits of goal accomplished. See, we got to have some fun along the way. We've got to be able to enjoy the process as we go. I'll never forget the first time, back before $10 million companies were everywhere. Long-term client of mine a long time ago broke 10 million for the first time in the Los Angeles market. And I was out there doing a Christmas party for him, and he was all excited, this and that. I mentioned this to Titanium last week. Broke 10 million. During the Christmas party, rolled out a $14 million goal for the next year. Let's have a little fun in the process there, boss. I know you're driven. I know you're excited, but how's that showing up? Is it less than 50% fun? What's it look like to you, my friend? And again, we've got to tie back to avoiding the gap. This business is fun if you decide to make it that way. And here's the deal. What type of business is it? What type of business do you want it to be as you move forward? I want you to think about that. What are the areas that need the most attention? We're going to open it up for questions in just a couple minutes, but before we do that, I want you to just think about this. If you go through this process, what's the impact that you want your company to have? What's the current state? What do we need to kind of revisit, reprioritize? What's a little sprint for the rest of the year? We got an 89-day sprint left. What's the process? How are we going to adapt? Assign and create accountabilities and create quarterly goals and monthly action. So it's about taking a step back. It's about subtraction for multiplication. Easy for me to say. Subtraction for multiplication. Sometimes we need to pull the reins back a little bit to run even faster.
And Kenny, if you could you hold on that slide for a minute? There's people that are sitting out there right now trying to figure out, okay, there's a lot of information that you've shared today, Kenny, and really good. Simplify this for me, right? So if you want the simplified version, you're sitting out there right now, you either got to take a picture of your screen right now, get your camera phone out, take a picture of the screen right now, or start documenting these notes. These are your 6 steps for your best quarter ever. So if you're going, I said this just the other day, I was out, as cool as it is, I was actually on site at a franchise location, helping them through some of their things with their people. And this is what I said to them, Kenny. It's 2-letter words. If it is to be, it is up to me.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to have your best quarter ever, here it is. It's in front of you. But the reality is, if it is to be, it is up to me. Like, you got to shoulder this responsibility.
That's it. And that's what a beautiful thing, because now you're back in control, and you got 89 days left. And here's something we would encourage you is to revisit that stop doing list. I mentioned start, stop, continue for those of you that are familiar with that process. But there's some things you should stop doing, and we got to remember that you're that $1 million racehorse. You're only going to be as good as your health is. And we all know when we're under the weather and we don't feel our best, we've really got to be mindful of those things. So this is our quarterly. Some of you may be essential. Some of you aren't Titanium yet. If you're not part of our family, here's what we're doing. This is a new opportunity for you to go to strategicpowerhour.com and schedule a deeply discounted, it's damn near free, an hour session with this amazing rock star, Chris Cruz. So if you would like to get that schedule, go to strategicpowerhour.com and get on Chris's schedule and see how you might be able to have your best quarter ever. Titanium, obviously you don't need to go to that link. You just let us know when you want to talk and we make that happen. So as we kind of, let's open it up for questions that you might have, comments, feedback, questions that we can elaborate on while you've got Chris and I here together today as we talk about the best quarter ever. What questions do you have? You can type it in the box. We can unmute you if you would like to share.
First wins a prize, right? What is the prize? You're going to be the first person, right? So it's always about being first. This is probably, Kenny, on any webinar that we ever get an opportunity, and not all webinars that we do are set up to be able to interact with people. This is probably one of my favorite parts. We do MPG. My favorite part of MPG is the very end where I get to engage with people and talk to them.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. So raise your hand or jump in for if you want to get in here. There's a couple typing here now. So one is, okay, so how do you have your best quarter ever when you just made a major leadership change?
Wow.
Big question, huh?
Yet the better question is this: was the leader change purposeful or unintentional? That'd be the first question I would ask that person that asked the question. Is when you make a major leadership change, did you do it on purpose or did it happen? And this is some good kind of advice that I had somebody give me one time, and it stuck with me. Sometimes good things fall apart so better things can come together. And so life will give you whatever you ask of it. And maybe you've been asking life that this was something that you wanted, but you didn't know that this would be how it was going to happen. And so I'll encourage you to embrace change, and embrace different. Someone said to me the other day that different is bad, and here's a fact. Leadership change is not bad, and it's not good either. It's just different. And so did the business need a shakeup? And oftentimes when the business gets shaken up, I will tell you this too, Kenny, we had people that worked in our business, and we had people that I thought were lifers, and we had to move on from some of those people that were in leadership roles. And it caused the team to question at first, like, what's going on, or is things stable? What's going on? And as leaders of the company, it's your position that if you're the leader in the company, that you've got to recommit back to your vision and talk about the decisions in the business that are going to push it forward.
100%.
So making leadership changes is not a bad thing.
No, and when you think about it, there's always going to be those types of changes. I love the question. It goes back to anything. Did you get surprised by it? Was it intentional? When did you know? And then from when you knew, how long did it take you to make the change, and why? And then I would also encourage you to check in on your own confidence and make sure that you're taking care of you and going back to what's your stop doing list, elevating your health habits. You got this. And again, I'll also piggyback this. Perhaps based on this shift, maybe this quarter isn't going to be your best rock star sales profit quarter, but this can be the seed for that harvest to come as you regroup. We had several titaniums make major leadership changes throughout the year, some family changes throughout the year, some really different. A lot of service managers moved around this country this year, and we saw the shakeups take place. And I will say, every one of the businesses that I can think of that happened with are better up right now. So you're going to be just the same. You're going to be just the same. Richard, the slower season is upon us, easy for me to say, for those in the HVAC. What are some major drivers in making, hang on, we got another one coming in. Let me get back up here. Well, I'll get right on you in just a moment here, Ryan. Let me get Richard. What are some major drivers making it at the best quarter without the weather's help, right? That's the big key. Without weather help, where do we go? Start checking in with pulling lists and calling, and what are you seeing there, Chris? We're heading into shoulder season, which is pretty cool. We got a new is that Instant Meeting Maker coming?
Yeah, it's already posted.
So we got a new Instant Meeting Maker coming for this, Richard. Show the new video to your text. Actually, there's one thought. But yeah, what else are you seeing out there, Chris?
Was just talking about this. I was coaching with one of our Titanium members and just shared this, that most people that are in a business when shoulder seasons come, once again, they get exposed. And this goes back to I believe shoulder seasons. That's why, you go back and you look at Ron Smith and developing service contracts, and the purpose of service contracts is to eliminate shoulder season. And so the challenge is, and this is what I see, Kenny, typically in businesses that have these shoulder seasons, they pull all of their revenue from those shoulder seasons, meaning, like, let me give you an HVAC example. They pull replacements and repairs from their existing members, and they pick the plant dry and don't give it time to reproduce again. So the only way that you can do that is by adding new customers during that busy time. And so once again, you're churning and burning through busy season, right? Not really focused on, are we converting clubs? Are we selling memberships? Our focus is, are we selling systems, right? So once again, how do I fix it? It's really where you go back to what you've already got. It's your database. And you purposely designed so that all of your maintenance visits are already scheduled. If you don't have those scheduled today, I'm going to encourage you to go start working on that and really buckle down on products and accessories and how to get those. And you're going to stumble across a few replacements as you do that.
And I love it. Thank you, Chris. And I would also piggyback, train. A lot of people slow down and they don't train their socks off. Now, you shouldn't be. It's not that you should slow down training when you're busy. Obviously, you're doubling down all the time, but when you pull back, that's when you can go deeper. You can get deeper into an IAQ product training. You can talk deeper about specialty drive-bys on the tune-ups, the difference between running a 5-year tune-up and a 15-year tune-up, the difference between a club client and a non-paid clean and check, whatever those look like. But I say it's always time to get back to basics and simplify. And you're right. You got gold in your database, and just get after it. I love it. Very cool. So thank you. And then Ryan saying, does it make sense to departmentalize business units to fit unique abilities? For example, I firmly believe residential service is our biggest opportunity for growth. Residential service is my unique ability, but we're so commercial driven, HOAs, property managers, etc. Does it make sense to split up the business units versus moving the entire company? The commercial side is our current unique ability as a company, by the way. Love it, Ryan. And yes, I do believe that there's value in separating those. They're different business models. Certainly we can talk about how deep you do that and whatever that looks like, and checking in with Howie's vision and how that may look. But certainly the more we have plenty of clients that run blended like that, especially with commercial. But man, you gotta separate those. Well, you did it with new construction for quite some time. Kelly's right here. So you had them pretty much like,
I had them completely separated.
They were totally separated, right? Yeah. So same with new construction. I would think about it almost like that. Even though it is commercial service and stuff, I would almost think about it like they're completely. I mean, in one you might they both might be Mexican restaurants, but one of them's whatever, quick serve, and one of them's, what's that one where they do the cliff dive in there in Denver? Casa Bonita. So anyway, hopefully that helps, Ryan. And certainly we can always jump on with you and Howie and talk through any of that. Craig, cross-training during this time. Love everything about cross-training personally. I don't, we'll go ahead, and Chris and I have never had this conversation, so let's do it live. What are your thoughts, Chris?
Cross-training, I want to clarify cross-training, meaning am I cross-training trades, or am I cross-training departments, meaning am I cross-training my maintenance people to be repair people, or training maintenance people to be salespeople? I think I need clarification on that, on cross-training.
Good question. So while we're seeing if he'll pop in on that, how about plumbers being trained to be able to run AC calls, or vice versa? Thoughts?
Well, I'm a big proponent, and this goes to a personal, right? And so think about your people. Some people will embrace the cross-training idea, some will not. The more I know, the more valuable I am to the organization, and the more flexible I can be, where you can plug me in where you need me. And that's really about team play. And I'm probably, it's not a fair question to ask Chris how he personally feels about that, because I want to learn everything I can so that I can be more valuable if need be, right? I can be plugged in where I need. But I'm 100% on board. And more importantly, think about in the busy times, the advantage that you get when you cross-train is, let's say I'm an electrician and I'm cross-training with a plumber, and I'm riding with that plumber, and I'm starting to learn deficiencies and things that are wrong firsthand with my eyes by the professional, not necessarily just in a training room also. So now during busy time, I got my eyes on what a leaky water heater looks like. I know what a TMP valve. I know it doesn't. I know how to check the expansion tank. I know all of these things. So now I can set more leads during busy season when I don't have time to do anything about it.
See, and what I love about that is, remember, everybody, that those of you that don't know Chris yet very well, he has been in every single aspect. So it's interesting that he coached and trained long before he became an owner, and then he went and built that. Now he's doing his unique ability here with us. And the thing is, I love, because he's coming from that. I got out of the truck when we had 2 trucks, and then I coached and I sold and different things. But Chris came up through a successful organization originally as an electrician. So he's thinking about it as a top technician first and foremost. And as I think back to that, well, and Kelly and I were partners in my business toward the end before we sold it to Robin. And think about Jeff was a long-term solid tech. He was the license holder for our company. He was a master plumber. He knew HVAC inside and out. He was our best-selling tech. He became like a trainer. I think he may still be Robin's service manager or right-hand kind of field supervisor, whatever that looks like. And a large part of that was simply from him having so much skill and flexibility, what you just said. So I think that probably makes the point, Craig. Yes, I believe that anytime you can, what Chris said, if you can elevate value and elevate flexibility, that gives you more ways to win. And that's ultimately what we're here for. So awesome. Okay, so any other questions here? And Kelly, you've had several calls with Chris. If people don't know us or haven't talked to Chris yet, would you recommend it's worth their $97 to have an hour with Chris?
That's highway robbery right there. You talk a lot about Chris running a company and building it up and being one of the best companies in the country. But the thing is, once you get to know Chris, and I've got to know Chris a little bit, he's very humble and gratifying person. Very grateful for what he has and very humble. And for somebody that's done what he has done and now wanting to give back, if you don't take advantage of this, you're plumb crazy.
Awesome. Hey, thank you, brother. Thank you. Couple quick announcements. Titanium, you've got to get registered for A-Days. We're only, I'm gonna put my glasses on, 5 weeks out or something. A-Days.thebluecollarsuccessgroup.com, right? A-Days.thebluecollarsuccessgroup.com. We'll post that again on Facebook and shoot you a reminder email.
The hotel reservation.
Oh, the hotel block-in's on Saturday. So we'll make sure you get that done. And then Ashley's been working like crazy. Rebecca's been working like crazy. And watch your email and stuff, because we have a new, wait for it, brand spanking new Titanium membership platform. So you're gonna get an email and go through the process of getting logged in there, and it's wicked. If you're MPG, you've already seen it a little bit, but Ashley, you'll be getting emails on how that goes. It's super awesome.
It's already in your inbox.
It's already in your inbox, she says. So
Just happened.
We don't even know. We think about it and it happens. So here's the deal. It is time, my friends, for you to have your best quarter ever. And that happens by creating a decision, making a commitment, tapping into that courage, and then going to make it happen. And that's the key. We're here to take care of you. We're here to help you in any way, capacity, shape, or form. I'm Kenny Chapman on behalf of entire Blue Collar team. Have a better than fantastic quarter, and we'll see you real soon. Thanks, everybody.